मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वनरयुक्तमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शरणं प्रपद्ये. Hari Om. Jai Sri Ram and welcome to Hinduism in Focus. We are examining the glories of Sri Hanumanji. Yesterday we were able to summarize the three parts, major parts to Mukti in being lived and demonstrated in Hanumanji's life. And so Hanumanji is the ideal karma yogi, the ideal bhakti yogi, the ideal jnana yogi. So he demonstrated that all parts can be lived at the same time, and he demonstrated through his conduct, not through precepts and through teachings as we do, but he demonstrated through his own life and conduct how all of these parts can be synthesized and one can win the favor of Paramatma. In this case, Paramatma, the Supreme Self, has been manifested as Bhagavan Sri Rama, whom we love, adore and worship. In this Sanatana Dharma, we have what we call the sixth orthodox school of philosophy. And the final is called a Vedanta Dharshana. So in this Vedanta Dharshana, there are three major schools. There are quite a number, but three of them stand out. What these three major schools do is they attempt to answer the question as to what is our relationship with Paramatma, with Bhagavan. Or what is the relationship between Bhagavan, our little self, and the universe? This is the question. And this question has been attempted to answer by all civilization. And no doubt, the teachers in all civilization have found and discovered and given many theories and ideas in furtherance to the answers for this question. In the Sanatana Dharma too, same has happened. In all the schools of orthodoxy in Sanatana Dharma, they do the same thing, trying to understand this cosmos, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, and ourselves. So in the Vedanta, however, it attempts to go to the highest analysis, and three major teachers and three major schools have examined this question and have come up with great conclusions and have come up with great teachings and concepts too. And after them, none other came with a greater or a better vision or darshana or answer to this question. And hence we hold this as final as of now until some great teacher comes again. But that has not been forthcoming, because all teachers who come and are here now and great saints and saviors, they actually accept one or two or a synthesis of these thoughts. And what are they? Is that one is called Dvaita, the other is called Vishishta Dvaita, and the last is called Advaita, Vedanta. In Dvaita, Vedanta, the great teacher Madhavacharya, he propagated this teaching. What he says is that our individual selves and the universe are separated from Bhagavan, from the Supreme Self, from God. And there is an eternal separation, and that we have a master-servant relationship. Bhagavan is the master, and we are servants. That school teaches this. Then, the other school is called Vishishtadvaita, and they are actually a lot of what we call offshoots of the Vishishtadvaita also. Many communities and traditions, and that is all fine. And that just demonstrates where the Acharya is, how the Acharya saw this, how the saints saw this and interpreted this. So in this Vishishtadvaita, which is called qualified non-dualism, and it was propagated by Acharya Ramanuja. So Ramanujacharya, he teaches that this universe, our individual selves, are a particle or a spark of the divine self, Bhagavan. And so like the sun, Bhagavan is like the sun, and we are the rays of the sun. We are not identically the sun, but we are part of that sun. This is the idea of Vishishtadvaita. And many of our tradition actually right now, we actually teach along that line. Many teachers teach along that line of this being a particle of the divine self. And then finally the Acharya Shankara, he came and he showed that there is only one entity, one existence. It is called non-dualism. It's called Advaita Vedanta. Shankaracharya promoted this concept that the individual self and this universe and everything, they are just an appearance. And when this appearance ceases to be, it merges only into the original consciousness. So this is a projection on the consciousness. But that projection is temporary, therefore it will not be eternal. It will have to go back into its source, which is the divine self, Bhagavan. So in essence, Shankara teaches in the Advaita Vedanta school that there is only one existence, which is Bhagavan, the Supreme Self, Paramatman. We call it Brahman, the Absolute One. That school, none other teacher came with a higher thought, and that is called Advaita Vedanta. Now, I say all of this to show you in a brief manner that this is the highest idea of philosophy on the planet. And what Hanumanji has done, he has shown in his one life that each person, depending on his level of spiritual evolution and his form of identity with the Lord, is at the same time a Dvaitin, Vishishta Dvaitin, and an Advaitin or Vedantin. Well, all of them actually mean we're all Vedantin, followers of the Vedanta teaching. Actually, that is one of the more potent names that every Hindu should be called, because as we know, the term Hindus and Hinduism are just recent, but we are all Advaitin, followers of Vedanta. It doesn't matter which school. So what Hanumanji did, he too, and this is demonstrating the Gyan Yogi that he was and that he is. Bhagavan had asked him about his relationship with him, and the answer that Hanumanji gave demonstrated his knowledge of the three paths, one, and two, demonstrated himself being a Gyan Yogi and a true one, and that he knew exactly the relationship between himself, the universe, and Bhagavan. And that thing demonstrates no contradiction. It just shows that the schools of philosophies are paths. Dvaita and Vishishtadvaita are the paths, and Advaita is the goal. And if a teacher is at Vishishtadvaita now or Dvaita, it doesn't mean that is final conclusion. It means that that is where the teacher is. It is never meant, the schools were never meant to be fought against each other, rather demonstrate the level of our own spiritual evolution. So Hanumanji was asked this question by the Lord himself in the Valmiki Ramayana, and listen to how he responded. Then you will see Hanumanji is truly the ideal epitome, representative or representation of the highest of Hindu thought. And this is the level he is. He is not the ordinary mythical figure that we have been told to accept from the colonizers. Certainly not. This will show you where he stands, and that an injustice has been done to us, to our minds, to our civilization by the colonialists. And that is our experience, but we have to reclaim and reposition our psyche to know the value and the worth that we have in Hanumanji. Certainly not a mythical character. Hear how he responded to Bhagavan. Deha buddhya tu dasoham jiva buddhya tvamaksakaha Atma buddhya tvamevaham iti me nishchita matihi. He says, at the stage when I identify myself as this body, this physical body, I am your servant. Therefore, I am not you. I am other than you. I am separated from you. And we have a master-servant relationship. So I am Advaita. So mostly people are at that level. Once we see ourselves at this bodily identification, we are separated. So we are Dvaitin. So we can see that level of evolution, Hanumanji. Then he said, Jiva Buddhya Tvamah Sakaha. When I identify myself as a Jiva, Jiva means an individual self with a mind and intelligence and tendencies of his own. We call it Sukshma Sharira. If you identify yourself as that individual, then you become part of the existence, part of Bhagavan. You're Vishishta Dvaita. You are like the rays of the sun. So you are at the same time a Vishishta Dvaita. You're part of Bhagavan. Then he says, Atma Buddhya Tvamevaham. That when I identify myself with Atman, with the self, I am you. I am not separated from you. Whatever you are, that is what I am. Therefore, I am an Advaita, which is the goal. And this explains, according to Upanishads, that famous statement, Jivo Brahmaiva na apara. So, these are all the stages in the spiritual evolution of a human. Everyone starts as a Dvaitin, evolves into a Vishishta Dvaitin, and ultimately becomes an Advaitin. So what religions teach and various paths in this world as the final is certainly not. That is where they are in this process. But there is no one in the modern faiths to demonstrate or teach such a thing. So what they do, we fight and radicalize everything amongst ourselves. But it is the Sanatan Dharma alone that demonstrates the process, present the process to you, and never draw the conclusion, but allow you to grow into the conclusion, if at all there is, and that conclusion is to attain one with the Supreme Self, Mukti. And Hanumanji in his one life showed this process. Look at this answer to Bhagavan. So nowhere else do we get such a gradual metamorphosis of the human, so flawlessly, completely and logically explained as in this Sanatana Dharma. So Dvaita, as we said, Vishishta, they are just the paths based on our level of evolution, spiritual evolution, and Advaita is the goal. And this greatest, highest teaching of the Hindu Darshana, the philosophy, has been captured, explained, and lived by Sri Hanuman. So this is the level that Hanumanji stands in the Sanatani culture. So let us accord and recognize who he really is. And certainly he's not a secondary or a mythical figure. But this is Hanumanji who demonstrates Sanatana Dharma in the truest and absolute form, and in reality the ideal of what we are, what our tradition, what our culture, what our way of life is based on. This is the Hanumanji. So we have recently celebrated his appearance or his birth, and it is only right that we do justice to speak of his glory and to bring him in our mind and place him exactly where he belongs, because he belongs to us. I pray that his grace be with all of us, and that we continue to strive for the furtherance, the further protection, preservation of the Sanatani culture. Until we meet tomorrow, may grace of Hari be with all of you. Jai Siya Ram.